Okay, so I'm doing a part 2 to the first video about the spiritualness and how it affects food, because I kind of wanted to go back to the spiritual breakthrough. I don't know if people realize that they do have the power to have a spiritual breakthrough. And in part 1, I was really trying to talk about the food and focus on the food aspect of it and how the food fuels your body. But I wanted to come back and do this second part because I want people to really get and really understand that there are steps you can take to have your spiritual breakthrough and to become your true, authentic self. We are afraid to become our true, authentic self. We don't know what that means to be who we are. We spend our entire life conforming to what others want us to be. We spend our entire life doing that. And we spend our entire life doing it subconsciously. But there are certain things that you can do to break that imprisonment of your spirit. And you will not change, but you will become who you were designed to be. Because that person is already there essentially, but you haven't tapped into it. And so it was something that I said when I was speaking in the other video about the becoming a spiritually awake, and I was like, I want to come back and do a part 2 about that, because one thing about the mind, and I gotta say this because I say this on everything almost, especially if you ever had a conversation with me, is that people need to be very clear that the mind and the brain are separate entities. Okay, they are separate entities. I'm reading a very interesting book now about it's called The Holographic Universe, and it tells all about how the brain processes. Chink, chink. This is the book that I'm reading now. Well, I'm actually reading 3 books right now, but this is one of the books that I'm reading right now. And it is called Holographic Universe, and it's by Michael Talbot. Not saying that I believe everything in this book, but what I do like to do is I like to read different books by different people and get different people's points of view, so that I can take all of the information that is available, all of the information that is out there, and I can digest it and use that information to aid me in my journey. And the only way to do that is you've got to expand yourself. You've got to know other people's points of view. You got to know other information so that you can really delve in and get to the truth. Everything that you've been taught from a child is not the truth. Okay? And it's your job to discover the truth. People only tell you what they want you to know. And if you don't read, if you don't research, you will live this entire life and never get to the truth. So anyway, enough of that rant. So back to me in Holographic Universe reading this book. It teaches that the mind is the true generator of all things in this world. And the mind, again, is separate from the brain. So the mind is the true generator. The mind controls and it imaginates all of these thoughts. And then the brain, in turn, up here, this is another transmitter. The brain is simply a transmitter. It does not think of anything independent in of itself. It only transmits what is received. Whatever it receives, that's what the brain transmits. So if you sit there and put a bunch of garbage in, that's what your brain is going to be transmitting, is garbage. Okay? So, but the brain is a very highly functioning organ. Very intuitive and highly functioning organ. And how that brain processes, it processes whatever's received from the mind. So you got to be clear that your mind and your brain are very separate. That's number 1. Number 2, you got to become aware that the mind has 2 functions. The mind has a subconscious function and it has a conscious function. And we are never taught or trained our entire life. We are not taught or trained how to control those 2 mechanisms. We are not taught how to control the subconscious or the conscious mind. Okay, the subconscious mind is very hard to control. There are books available. I know y'all don't like to read. Y'all want me to read the stuff and tell y'all what it says, which is fine. But there are several books out there that explain how the subconscious works. There's even YouTube videos out there that explains how the subconscious works. But to put it into a nutshell, the subconscious mind works without you telling it to. So when you walk into a room, when you open a newspaper, everything, the subconscious mind is constantly scanning. It's constantly aware. Subconscious mind is very smart. Now, the conscious mind is you and your everyday person. Your conscious mind is the things that you're doing, and you're conscious that you're doing it. But the conscious mind also functions in a state of repetition as well. For example, when you get up and brush your teeth, you're doing it consciously. You know you're brushing your teeth, but it's subconscious too, because it's a routine that you've been doing your whole life. So the key to having a true spiritual breakthrough, besides doing what I talked about in video 1, but another key element to having a true spiritual breakthrough and raising your level of consciousness, which I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to that in just a second about level of consciousness. But a key thing to do is learning how to become the master of your mind. Now, you hear people say that all the time. You've heard that saying before, master of your mind. But have you ever really known what that means? You thought master of your mind meant just controlling your thoughts, or being able to control your brain. That's what you thought, but that's not what it is. Master of your mind is when you can control your subconscious and conscious mind. When you learn to do that, when you learn to control that subconscious and conscious mind, when you become the puppeteer and not the puppet, you are on a higher level of consciousness and you are spiritually awake. If you are going through routines and doing what people have told you to do, and you're doing things and you don't know why you're doing them, and you're just doing them because there's routine, and you're doing it because it's habit, you're doing it because it's ritual, you are not in control of your subconscious and conscious mind, and you have yet to have your true spiritual breakthrough. A person who has had that is not afraid to be who they are. They are not afraid to tell the truth. And those are some of the attributes of a person who is spiritually free. And you're not bound by the confines of others people's insecurities. So, I see, isn't that good? Y'all know there's some good stuff. But there's so many more levels to that. It's so much deeper than that. If anybody watching this video wants to dig deeper in that, you want to learn how to control your subconscious and conscious mind, you want to know what that entails and what's the work behind that, again, you need to go to my website and you need to hit me up on there, and so that we can start doing that work and helping you do that work. It is an amazing journey. I don't want people to ever think that the job that you go to every day is your spiritual awakeness. And that's your purpose. That's not true. You can listen to any preacher, TD Jakes, anybody, and they will tell you your job is your provision. And your work is the spiritual aspect of why you were formed and created. Your job is only a means of providing so that you can go on your journey. So never think that because you reached the epitome of the top in your career, that you did your work and you made it. That is not why God created us. He did not create us to be constricted by the confines of a job and have that job define who we are as a person. No job, no matter what your title, does not define who you are as a human being. And the true essence of why you're here on this earth is to find out what work God needs for you to do. And that all begins with you taking the step to have your spiritual breakthrough so that the universe and the spirit can become synced together as one, and it can communicate with you. But until that barrier has been broken, the barrier from this monotonous world, the barrier of constrictions and confinements, until those barriers are broken, there will be no effective communication with the higher creation. So that's why I said in part 1, it takes a conscious effort to become that spiritual being that we are capable of becoming. It takes a conscious effort to become the full functioning being that we are capable of being. Not this book, but another book I read. We only use 3% of our brain. So what are we doing with the other 97%? Nothing. So I'm saying that to say, as a human being, we are capable of more. But there are forces that intentionally keep us confined so that they stay in power. And so that you stay disempowered. Because when you become spiritually free, you become empowered. And you automatically lose that spirit of fear. Because the spirit of fear is not real. And you in your true and purest form as a flesh being does not know fear. So in part 1, when I was talking about stress, one reason the body responds with sickness when we have stress and anxiety is because the body doesn't know what that is. The body does not know what anxiety is. It does not know what stress is. It does not know what fear is. So the body in turn, because what you got to realize is those are invisible forces, but they are creating energy. And we are energy beings. We have a fleshly body, but the core of who we are is an energy. Because if you've ever reached and touched somebody and electrocuted them, that's how you know you have a charge to you. You have a charge. You are an electrical human being. And do you know that saying, when someone comes in the room and you like, that person got bad vibes? That's because we all are transmitting energy. So that energy that the body receives from stress and from fear, when you're scared all the time, the body does not know what to do with that energy, because this body was not designed to receive that energy. So that's why it responds with hypertension, and it responds with the migraine, and it responds with the whatever else, because the body does not know what to do with that foreign energy. Didn't mean to go on this long. I mean, I could go on all night. This stuff is so good. Being a spirit human being is the best thing. The journey is an amazing journey. It's an amazing journey. All right, guys. So that's it. I'm going to end it there. You all be kind and loving to one another. Remember to like and share the video. Send it to someone that you love, so that we can get the conversation rolling, so that we can keep this communication going. Hit the like button down below. And I appreciate you guys. Have a good night.